As Captain Brown had all the prisoners with him, the whole force of the enemy was concentrated there for a time after the capture of the rifle factory. Captain Hazlett and myself, being in the arsenal opposite, saw the charge upon the engine house with the ladder, which resulted in opening the doors to the Marines and finally in Brown's capture. The old hero and his men were hacked and wounded with indecent rage, and at last brought out of the house and laid prostrate upon the ground, mangled and bleeding as they were. A formal surrender was required of Captain Brown, which he refused, knowing how little favor he would receive if unarmed at the hands of that infuriated mob. Of the 6 men assigned in a position in the arsenal by Captain Brown, 4 were either slain or captured, and Hazlett and myself, the only ones remaining, never left our position until we saw, with feelings of intense sadness, that we could be of no further avail to our commander, he being a prisoner in the hands of the Virginians. We might, by joining the men at the farm, devise plans for his succor, or our experience might become available on some future occasion. So, Hazlett and I went out the back part of the building, climbed up the wall, and went upon the railway. And we traveled up the Shenandoah along the railroad and overtook one of the citizens. He was armed and had been in the fight in the afternoon. We took him prisoner in order to facilitate our escape, and he submitted without resistance and quietly gave up his gun. When we had gone as far as the foot of the mountains, our prisoner begged us not to take his life, but to let him go at liberty. He said we might keep his gun, he would not inform on us. Feeling compassion for him and trusting to his honor, we suffered him to go, when he went directly into town, and finding everything there in the hands of our enemies, he informed on us, and we were pursued. After he had left us, we crawled or climbed up among the rocks in the mountains, some 100 yards or more from the spot where we left him, and hid ourselves, as we feared treachery on second thought. A few minutes before dark, the troops came in search of us. They came to the foot of the mountains, marched and countermarched, but never attempted to search the mountains. And we supposed from their movements that they feared a host of armed enemies in concealment. Their air was so defiant and their errands so distasteful to us that we concluded to apply a little ammunition to their case, and having a few cartridges on hand, we poured from our excellent position in the rocky wilds some well-directed shots. The troops returned our fire, but it was random shooting, as we were concealed from their sight by the rocks and bushes. Interchanging shots continued for some minutes with some spirit, when it became quite dark, and they went down into town. When we descended from the rocks, we passed through the back part of the ferry on the hill, down to the railroad, proceeding as far as the sawmill on the Virginia side, where we came upon an old boat tied up to the shore, which we cast off and crossed the Potomac. The Maryland shore once gained, we passed along the towpath of the canal for some distance when we came to an arch which led through under the canal and thence to the Kennedy farm, hoping to find something to eat and to meet the men who had been stationed on that side. When we reached the farmhouse, all our expectations were disappointed.